There once was an Irish boy who dreamed of gold, but not just any old gold, fairy gold, and he stopped at nothing to get it, fighting a world of armed and dangerous fairies, power-crazed pixies and bloodthirsty demons. But now the fairies need criminal mastermind Artemis Fowl to save them from a deadly enemy. There's a problem. Dabbling in fairy magic has messed with his mind. Have Artemis Fowl's criminal ways finally got the better of him?
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to Eoin Colfer Virtually Live. We are here in Forest Hill School. Cheer from the audience. And today we are here to celebrate the launch of the new book by Eoin Colfer. It's obviously the very well-known author of the Artemis Fowl series, and today we're launching the new book, The Atlantis Complex. During today's show, if you want to email in questions from wherever you are, then we have a chance that we read out those questions after the show, and Eoin can answer those questions. So get on your computers, send those emails in, and we will do our best. But first of all, ladies and gentlemen, please be welcome to the stage, Eoin Colfer.
Good afternoon, everybody here, and good afternoon, everybody all around the world. I believe there are people watching us all over the UK, but also in India, in France, in Finland. I think 3/4 of Brazil is watching. So hello to all those people. Now, it's good that everybody is watching, but it's also bad for me because I do these shows all the time, and what I usually do is I go around and I kind of make fun of people. And I insult people that are not here because it's dangerous to insult people that are here because they will attack you. So I try and make fun of people who are not here. And now all they got to do is check out YouTube and say, hey, wait a minute, are you talking about me there? Is that me you're talking about? One guy was my best friend who's probably watching now and will know, but he's a teacher. And I based a character on him, and the character of Commander Root from these books. If you don't know Commander Root, he's a big tough guy, and he's the leader of the fairy police force, and he just shouts at people all the time. And that's how he disciplines them. But everyone loves him, so he shouts at them. And my friend was a teacher like that, and he used to shout horrible things at the kids, really horrible things. But because he was so funny, they would just laugh at him. So he could say to you, you are so ugly. Your parents are ugly, your grandparents are ugly, and the whole family stinks. And the kids are there going, ha 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 ha, you're so funny. And he would mean every word of what he was saying. So I used to go around the world. I'm telling this story, and this guy then, he found out, and he wasn't very happy. I have to say, I insult boys a lot because, you know, because they, especially boys when they just hit what I like to call the hair gel years. One day they're these lovely, innocent little fellows running around kicking a football, and the next day they're spending 2 hours in the bathroom putting their hair into spikes. They use a bottle of hair gel every 2 days on average, and they get that really stinky deodorant, and they fill up their whole room with the mist. So I kind of have a go at them, but now I can't do that anymore. Oh, I just did, sorry, but I shouldn't do it because they can now see me on YouTube. Now, the latest book is called Artemis Fowl and the Atlantis Complex, and it wasn't going to be about Atlantis. Do you know what Atlantis is? Yeah. Atlantis is this city, famous city that's supposed to be underwater. But in this book, an Atlantis complex is like a fairy brain disease, where I shouldn't really do that. That's very bad taste. So I shall rewind that and put it in my pocket and pretend it never. We can cut that out later, right? Okay. But what it means in fairy language is you've got schizophrenia, which means you have more than one personality. So in this, Artemis develops a second personality. Now, originally Artemis Fowl is a criminal mastermind, but in this book, he then becomes kind of a really nice guy. He falls in love with Holly. He's spouting poetry all the time. He's absolutely useless to anybody, and so they have to get him back to the way he was originally. Now, a lot of my work is based on my two kids, and the first piece I'm going to read for you, I'm going to be talking a bit faster than usual because we only got like 20 minutes. First bit I'm going to read for you is about wrestling. Does anyone watch wrestling here on the TV, the WW thing? I didn't know anything about that until my son, Sean is 7, so hello, Sean. Sean is a wrestling fan, and he has like 3 of those big belts, you know, the spinner belts, and he wears them around the place. He's only a tiny little guy, but he wants to be a wrestler. And so one morning, Sean comes into their bedroom, and I'm lying there, you know, asleep, and he climbs up on the bed, and he's just a little guy, and he says, "Daddy." I said, "Yeah." He said, "Can I do my finisher?" And I thought that, I didn't know what a finisher was. I thought a finisher would be like he's going to say a little poem or something and finish the poem, or maybe he was going to finish the book he was reading. But no, I did not know that finisher is a wrestling term, and it means the death move, the takedown. And he wanted to do his finisher on me. And I thought, well, I didn't know. So I said, "Yes, Sean, you go right ahead and do your finisher." And so I'm lying there. I kind of got one eye open. He takes 2 steps backwards. Now imagine this little 7-year-old guy, and he's got a big belt on him, and he spins the belt. Then he does this. Okay? Then he starts to bounce on the bed. And I'm saying, this doesn't look like a book. Where is this going? I don't know what's going to happen here. He jumps up in the air. Now, I can't do it because I'm too old, but he jumps up in the air. His 2 feet, you know the way little kids can just flick them? His 2 feet go up, so his bum is pointing straight down, okay? He's like a V. There's his bum at the bottom, right? Jumps up over my head, and at this point I realised this is not good. And before I opened my mouth to say, "Oh my God," and I will always regret opening my mouth, because he went up and his bum came down, and the V of the bum slammed me into the side of my head, crushing my head into the mattress. Now you might think, how painful is that going to be? Some of you guys have got little brothers and sisters. Do you know how bony their bottoms are? And so now I was crushed. I'm lying there going, "Ah, ah, ah, ah." And he said, "I have taken you downtown." I said, "What are you talking about? We live in the country. You can't take me downtown." And so then now he considered it his habit, and he comes in every morning, and if I'm not awake, he does the finisher. And that's how I wake up, with a child's bottom on the side of my face. And when visitors come to the house, if they don't know what the finisher is, I don't tell them. That's how mean I am. His poor granddad was taking a little nap, and he said, "Granddad, shall I do the finisher?" And he said, "What's the finisher?" I said, "Oh, it's nothing. Just let him do it." And he did the finisher on the head. Anyway, this finisher move inspired this little part of the book. And in this part of the book, there are 2 characters, brother and sister. And their names are Butler, who's the big bodyguard, if you know the story, and then his sister Juliet, who's a wrestler. And she is known as the Jade Princess. And she wrestles in Mexico. And Butler gets a message to say that his sister is in big trouble. And so he gets on a plane. He flies down to Mexico. He gets to the wrestling ring where the match is on. And he's in the dressing room watching the match on the monitor to see if his sister does indeed need some help. And that's the bit I'm going to read you now. So you have to imagine Butler. He's about 6'7". He's wearing a dark suit. His head is shaved. And his sister is beautiful. She's about 19 or 20. And she's got long hair. And in the end of her ponytail, there's a jade ring that she flicks around and whacks you on the head. And that's one of her moves. And she's known as the Jade Princess. So if you know anything about wrestling, you should understand this. Butler heard the howls and whoops of the crowd as the wrestlers entered. He stepped close to the screen and searched for his sister. There she was, at the corner of the ring, performing some ostentatious warm-ups that were more for show than actual effect. Juliet did not seem to be any immediate danger. In fact, she appeared to be relishing the crowd's attention, raising her arms for more applause and whipping the jade ring on her ponytail around in figures of 8. The crowd loved her too. Several young men waved banners bearing Juliet's image, and a few were bold enough to shower her with confetti hearts. Butler frowned. He would definitely be keeping an eye on those young gentlemen, just as I'm keeping an eye on these ones right here. Okay. The opening match was started by an old-fashioned ringside bell, and Juliet leapt high, landing cat-like on the top rope. "Princessa! Princessa!" chanted the audience. Juliet's opponent was obviously the villain, a humongous woman with buzz-cut bleached hair and a costume of blood-red lycra. "Boo!" called the crowd. The huge newcomer wore a mask that covered her eyes and nose and was tied at the back with some nasty-looking barbed wire, which Butler suspected was actually plastic. The first round was gentle enough on Butler's nerves. Then in the second round, Juliet strayed a little close to her opponent and was pounced on with surprising speed. "Ooh!" cried most of the crowd. "Snap her in two!" Samsonetta called a few less charitable observers. Samsonetta, thought Butler. It suits her. He was not worried at this point. There were at least a dozen ways for Juliet to break Samsonetta's hold, as far as he could see. Butler started to worry when he noticed a dozen men in trench coats sidling along the far wall towards the ring. Trench coats? In Cancun? Why would anyone wear a trench coat in the heat of Mexico unless they were concealing something? The picture was too grainy for Butler to garner much detail, but there was something about these guys, the way they moved, purposeful, devious, sticking to the shadow. He glanced around the dressing room to see if there was anything he could use as a weapon. No such luck. All he could find were a couple of chairs, plenty of glitter and mascara, and a barrel of old costumes. Well, I won't be needing the glitter or mascara, thought Butler, and reached in, selecting a costume. Meanwhile, in the ring, Juliet Butler was feeling a little claustrophobic in the arms of her opponent. "Come on, Sam," she hissed. "You're suffocating me." Samsonetta stamped flat-footed on the canvas, sending hollow booms bouncing around the auditorium, while at the same time making a show of squeezing Juliet's neck. "That's the idea, Jules," she whispered, her Stockholm accent stretching the vowels. "I whip up the crowd, remember, and then you take me down." Juliet turned her face to the 3,000-strong crowd, delivering a dramatic howl of pain. "Oh, kill her!" screamed the nice ones. "Kill her, and then snap her in two!" screamed the not-so-nice ones. "Kill her, snap her in two, and stamp on to pieces!" howled the downright nasty audience members, usually easily identifiable by the violent slogans on their T-shirts and the drooling. They prepared for Samsonetta's trademark finisher, an overhead drop. Sam advertised the move by asking the crowd if they wanted the body slam. "Do you want it?" she shouted, playing up her accent. "Yes," they howled, beating the air with their fists. "The body slam! Slam!" they chanted. "Slam, slam!" "You want a slam? I will slam!" Generally, Samsonetta would have said, "I shall slam." But Max, the promoter-manager of Lucha Slam, liked her to use V instead of W wherever possible, as for some reason it drove the crowd crazy. And so she bent backwards and hurled the unfortunate Jade Princess towards the deck, and that would have been the end of it, had not Juliet somehow twirled in mid-air to land on her toes and fingertips. And that wasn't even the impressive part. The impressive part was springing back up again, whipping her head around so the jade ring woven into her blonde ponytail whacked Samsonetta in the jaw, landing the giantess flat on her back. "Have you had enough, Samsonetta?" asked Juliet, springing nimbly to the top rope. "Would you like some more?" "No," blubbed the supposed opponent, then decided to sneak another V in for Max. "I want no more." Juliet turned to the audience. "Should I give her some more?" "Oh, no," said an imaginary audience. "No more, that would be barbaric." But the real audience said things like, "Kill her! Take her downtown!" Whatever that meant, they were already downtown. "Show her the pain!" The pain being obviously more excruciating than just plain old pain. "I love these people," thought Juliet, and then launched herself off the top rope for her own finisher. It would have been lovely, a thing of beauty. A lovely double flip, rounded off with a nice oof, inducing elbow to the stomach. But someone came out of the shadows and snatched Juliet from the air, tossing her roughly into the corner of the ring. Several other silent, muscled attackers piled on top of Juliet until all that was visible of the girl was one green-clad leg. In the shadows, where he was watching behind one of the lighting rings, Butler felt a sour ball of fear drop to the pit of his stomach and muttered, "That's my cue." The crowd was still applauding the unexpected arrival of the Ninja Squad wrestlers in their trademark black costumes, disguised by trench coats, who had doubtless shown up to avenge their master's recent defeat at the hands and feet of the Jade Princess at Quadro Slam in Mexico City, when Butler entered the ring quietly. A moment earlier he had felt self-conscious in the borrowed costume of fake bearskin, leotard and mask. But now he was in the combat zone. With a growl that was in keeping with his crazy bear costume, Butler began laying into the ninjas with blatant economy of movement. There was no threatening monologue, not even a simple foot stamp to herald his arrival. He simply dismantled the ninjas as though they were a Jenga stack. There followed 30 seconds of flailing limbs and high-pitched screaming that would have done hysterical teenagers at a boy band concert proud. And then finally, Juliet was uncovered. Juliet saw that his sister was intact and smiled behind the mask. "Hello there, I made it." A couple of the ninjas had recovered and tried their stylized moves, only to be rewarded with casual open-hand slaps. "Watch it!" snapped Butler. "I need a minute of family time." Something flickered in the corner of Butler's vision, something moving with blurred, jittery speed. His left hand shot out to grab the jade ring that was braided into his sister's blonde ponytail. "Wow," said Juliet. "No one's ever caught the ring before." "Really?" said Butler, dropping the jade ring. "No one." Juliet. Her eyes widened behind the mask. "No one except... Brother, is that you?" Before Butler could reply, Juliet sidestepped and poleaxed with her forearm a ninja who may have been sneaking up on them, or may in fact have been trying to escape from what had become the ring of real pain as opposed to the ring of convincingly faked agony. "Didn't you hear this guy? Didn't you hear this man? We need family time!" So that is the start of the wrestling section of the book, and I hope you like that. Thank you very much. Now, I also have another son, and his name is Finn, and he's watching now, I hope, Finn. And it's a big day for Finn tomorrow, because he is becoming a teenager. He is 13. And hopefully he's not. I have taught a lot of teenagers in my time as a teacher, and I know they can be troubled, and I know they can be in bad moods, and nobody understands them. For example, if you ask a teenager to do the simplest of things, he will act like it's the end of the world, and basically as if you have asked him to chop off his own arm and beat himself over the head with it. So if I said to a teenager, and they get so upset, teenagers get so upset by being asked to do tiny little things that they forget how to speak their language. So I could say to a teenager, I'm surely there's nobody moody here, but maybe there's one or two that you all know who I'm talking about. Maybe I've got older brothers or sisters. I could say, if I had an imaginary teenager here, just imagine him. He's standing there. He's got really tight jeans. His hair is in his eyes. You can't see his face. He's got a big grumpy head on him. He's probably got some kind of music player sticking into his ears, and he hates everybody. So I'm saying to him, fetch me that bottle of water there. Now that's not hard, is it? So I said, fetch me that. He said, oh, I can't believe that. What? It's oh. And then he remembers a bit of English. Yeah, I'm not your slave. So I really don't think Finn is going to turn out like that, because he's a very happy young man and a great soccer player. And I was wondering, I'm going to ask you guys two favors. First favor is he's on, and this is for the people at home too, or in school. Is one of his things when you're 13 you can go on Facebook. So he's going on Facebook, and he would like a few friends. So if anyone is on Facebook, can you please go on Facebook and look for Eoin Colfer. Now don't all do it immediately, or my computer system is going to break down. But over the next couple of days maybe, or even just go on and say happy birthday, Finn. That would be very nice. And the second thing I would have to ask you is if we could sing happy birthday, because I had to leave my son's teenage birthday to come here. So I promised him, I know that's the kind of horrible dad I am, sorry. I promised him we would sing happy birthday, so do you think he can manage that? Just one verse? His name is Finn. After 3, 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Louder! Happy birthday, dear Finn. Happy birthday to you. And a big round of applause. Thank you very much. That's very good. But it's not just teenage. You think about having kids is, and all of you are kids, so you'll understand that. It's that you spend all your lives being embarrassed by your parents. And everything we do is really embarrassing. But I would just like to tell you that sometimes the stuff you do is very embarrassing. And we can't say anything to you. We have to be all nice and support your dreams and not dash your dreams and be really nice to you and pretend that we like you just as much as we did when you were cute little babies. But I'm afraid sometimes when kids begin to talk, it all goes wrong. Now, there's one thing, for example, to give you an example of this, that a dad can do that the mother cannot do. Now, the mothers do a great job at raising the kids, but there's one thing, and this is for the boys. It's when you've got a little boy and he's about 3 and he has to learn how to go to the bathroom in the public toilet in the supermarket or somewhere like that, or in the petrol station. Okay? The mother cannot bring the boy into the boys' toilet, and he doesn't want to go into the girls' toilet. He wants to go to the boys. And my little boy was 3, and we were on holidays in France. And so I brought him in, and it was a big moment for me. It was a man thing. I said, "Come on, Shawnee, in we go." So he went in, and they had a lovely little, urinal thing, little one for a little boy. And to make it even nicer for them, and this is fantastic, they had put some AstroTurf around it. So when you stood on it, it was all grassy. He said, "Oh, this is lovely." So he stood up on it, and I'm there beside him. I said, "Okay, now is the proper moment. This is an important moment for me and you, son. We're going to do something together. We'll remember this for the rest of our lives." So, first of all, step 1, we drop the trousers. Okay, put down his pants, and he's standing there. I say, "Okay, go." And he's looking at me like, "You are such an idiot. What are you talking about?" I said, You have to go, wee-wees into the thing there." And he said, "I'm not going. This is not how I go. I don't go here. I said, "No, you have to go now. I can't go back out there. I can't go back out there to your mother until I'm successful as a dad. So go!" And so now he's terrified he won't go. And I said, "How am I going to get him to go?" And my other son, Finn, has a really good idea. He says, "You know what he really loves? He loves volcanoes." I said, "Oh, that's right, he loves volcanoes." And I said, "Okay, Sean, we're going to play a little game. It's called the volcano game. You are like a volcano." It's good, isn't it? As long as you don't get your volcanoes confused, if you know what I mean. Now, so I said, "You're like a volcano. I want you to explode into the toilet. I want you to let it all go. Let it fly. Let it go. You're a volcano." And it worked. He went to the loo, and I'm like, "Yes, I am King Dad." And I went, and I said, "Okay, you boys, I'm just going into the cubicle here. Finn, you mind him. I'll be back in 2 seconds." So I went into the loo, and I closed the door behind me, and I heard a little voice saying, "You are like a volcano. I want you to explode. Just let it go, man. Into the toilet. Go." And I rushed out, and Sean is standing behind this old French guy who's trying to go to the loo. Going, "You're a volcano, man. Let it go. Come on. Explode." So we can never go back to France. We were banned from that country. Actually, no. I'm just kidding. I don't know why I told you that story. It's nothing to do with Artemis Fowl. Anyway, I've talked too much. We're going to start questions now in a second. But one more look at the book in a lovely colour. I like showing that to the boys because sometimes they're attracted. They can be hypnotized. Ooh, I don't care. I don't care what the book is like. It's pretty. Whereas girls actually want to read the books. Girls, this book is all about vampires who fall in love with werewolves. It's fantastic. You should buy it. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Now, we're going to start with the questions. And being Irish, I will talk for a long time and probably not answer your question. But I'm not in charge of the questions. We're going to have the MC here. James is going to take over again. And
round of applause for Owen, please. Thank you, sir. Right. Okay, now then, this is the plan. We are going to start off. We're going to have some questions from the audience here, and we're going to have some questions from people at home or in their schools watching this live on the web. We're going to start off with a couple of questions from the audience. So, do we have one over this side, please?
Gemma. Okay. What inspired you to write those type of books?
You mean magical and funny and fairy stories?
Yeah.
I was inspired to write these type of books, I think, by my upbringing. My dad is a storyteller. My mother is a drama teacher and storyteller. And we were little boys. There was 5 of us. And we all had to go in the back of one car. So we'd be in the back of the car on long drives. and it was a Renault 4. They don't make those anymore. But in a Renault 4, you could put a little mattress in the boot of the car and climb over the back seat, and two of us would lie down. And of course, you've got 5 boys in the car. What's going to happen? They start beating each other up soon and kicking each other. One time, one of my brothers opened the back door, and my other brother fell out. And he never told my mother. He just closed the door. And they were like 10 miles later, where is he gone? Oh, yeah, he fell out in the last time we left him. But to stop this happening, my dad would tell these fantastic stories. And he would make them up from the top of his head. And they were always magical stories. And I would be lying there in the back of the car, and he would be telling me stories of battles and magicians and sorcerers. And when he got tired, it was like a tag team. He would pass the story over to my mother. And she would then continue the story, and I remember it was always magical crows and wizards and tall towers. It was amazing, and I think that's what inspired me to go on and write my own stories.
Excellent. Okay, we'll have another one from the audience over this side, please. Hello, what's your name?
Louis.
What's your question?
How many years have you been writing Artemis Fowl books?
I've been writing Artemis Fowl books now for actually next year is the 10th anniversary, and there's going to be a big relaunch, but I started writing them about 15 years ago when I first got the idea. And I got the idea from my brother Donal because he was a kind of a mischievous, artful dodger character. The Artemis Fowl is a criminal mastermind. And in Ireland we have a sacrament called the confirmation, where all the boys get dressed up in a little suit. And they look, they're real cool, it's a real proper suit. And they have a tie and everything. And I saw a picture of Donal in that suit and thought, wow, he looks just like a little James Bond villain. Because in the picture, 99 kids were all like this, being really holy, and Donal was like this, ha 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 ha! So I kept that idea in my head for a long time before I put it into a book.
Lovely. Now, we'll take a question from online, as we have the internet here. First of all, can you say a big hi to the SEALs class at Newlands Primary School? They love your book.
Hello, SEALs. How are you?
I don't think they're actual SEALs.
Okay. Ooh, well, it would be like that then if they were. Hello, SEALs.
And another one. This is from Owen's son, Finn.
Oh.
There you go.
Hello, Finn.
He says, do you know how to read Gnomish? That's from Finn and Edward, your biggest fans currently in France.
Finn, I do. Finn is the master of the good question. Hi, Finn. Hello, Edward, as well. I don't really know how to read Gnomish, Finn. Gnomish is the code that runs along the bottom of the book. And I can kind of read it, but sometimes kids write me letters, 3 pages of Gnomish, and I have to translate it. But the best question I ever had was from Finn. He's my son, right? And I was doing this big gig in the Royal Albert Hall. You know the Royal? It's a huge, big place. And Finn's hand went up. And I was a bit worried because I knew he's very funny. He's a comedian. And all the other kids found out who he was and they started to point to him. So this big sea of hands were pointing at Finn. So eventually I had to ask him. And he pretended he didn't know me. And I said, yes. And he said, well, Mr. Colfer. I said, yes, little boy. He said, I believe you have 2 sons. And I said, that's true, little boy. He said, which one is your favourite? So hello, Finn. Hello, Edward.
Right, can we have another question from the audience, please? We've got one over here. Well, hello, what's your name?
Hayley.
Hello, Hayley. What's your question?
What book did you enjoy writing the most?
What book? I really enjoyed writing a book called The Legend of Spud Murphy. Thank you. Spud Murphy's here. Which is about a librarian who you think is horrible, but then turns out to be lovely. Because very often kids believe stuff about adults that's not true. We heard when we were in school, there was a rumour in the school that the chemistry teacher had blown up the laboratory in Dublin and he had killed 47 kids. And that's why they had sent him down the country. And we believed all that. But of course now we know it's not true. And it was the same with this librarian. But also I really love it because it's about me and my little brother, and my big brother. And it was Finn who said that to me. He said, you never write books for me. Write me a book that I can read, because he was only 7 at the time. And so I wrote him The Legend of Spud Murphy, and it's even written on the inside for Finn. So that's very special to me.
Lovely. Can we have another question from this side of the room, please? Hello, what's your name?
Nathan.
Hello, Nathan. What's your question?
I was going to say, do you have a favourite author?
I have lots of favourite authors. It's really hard to pick. I have to say, if I had to pick 2 books for your age group that I think everybody should have read, should read, the first one would be Stig of the Dump. Has everyone who's read Stig of the Dump? Loads of people have read that. And that's been around for years, And then my second favourite would be The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, which is by Mark Twain, and it's an American book. It's fantastic. So if I would pick out those two books especially. But I love modern authors. I love Darren Shan. I think he's fantastic. Jeremy Strong is brilliant. Anthony Horowitz. There's loads of J.K. Rowling is fantastic. There's loads of brilliant writers going around now.
Lovely. Another question from the outside world. This is from Lindsay Evans. Not sure where she is, but Lindsay would like to know if you could be any character from any book ever written, who would it be and why?
Wow. I think I would really like to be James Bond, because he's cool and I'm not cool. And it would be great just for one day to be cool. Just to go into a bar, you know, hey baby, what's happening? And she just, you know, now if I did that, she'd just laugh. They'd be laughing so much they'd have to probably put their hands on their knees and throw up. But so it would be great to be cool just for a day. You know, I don't want to shoot anybody. I just want to be cool. It's too late though, I think.
This question, Owen, is from Callum Dooley in Bigwood School, which is in Nottingham. And Callum would like to know, which football team do you support?
I don't. I'm the worst. I support my wife and kids. Wife and kids. But my son said to me once, I'm rubbish at football. And my son Sean was 7. He's just 7 now, and he's better than me at football. And once Finn was so annoyed at me because he scored yet another goal, and I'm so rubbish, that he said to me, I'm going to take you back and swap you for a sporty dad! Which is very hurtful if you're a father. So I don't, when I was a kid, I supported Everton. I don't know why. I don't know why. But everyone else in my family supports Man United. I don't know why they do that either. So.
Dangerous question, well fielded.
Yeah.
Right, we've got another one from this side of the room in the audience. What's your name?
Natasha,
Hello, Natasha. What's your question?
did you always want to be a writer?
That's a very good question, Natasha. I think I did, but I didn't know it. I just always wrote. So when I was a very young boy, when other people were out playing football, I would be inside drawing comic books. So I've always done it. I didn't realise, though, that you could actually have a career doing it until I was about 16. So from about the age of 10, I've been writing stories. So that's 35 years now, so that's a long time. So I would advise you, any young writers in the audience here or at home, don't think, well, I'm too young to write books. There's a 12-year-old girl in France who wrote a bestseller fantasy series. I think she's about 20 now, but when she started her first book, she started writing at 12, and it came out when she was 14. So you're never too young to start writing your first book.
But nobody likes her, do they?
No. I like her.
The question over here in the audience. What's your name?
Sunny.
Hi, Sonny. What's your question?
What publishers did you go to sort of spark your career?
Well, I went to Puffin because when I was a kid, I had a big box set of the Puffin classics, and they were the ones that inspired me. And these would have been books like Treasure Island, like Huckleberry Finn, and now, amazingly, my book is in the box with the Puffin classics. So it's like a dream come true for me, a full circle, and it's great when you're a kids writer to have that Puffin on your book is wonderful. So I'm really happy to be with Puffin. And you can get to say the brilliant sentence, "There's nothing like a Puffin," which is obviously genius. So that's very good.
Okay, a couple of questions from the web. We've got a happy birthday, Finn, from Rebecca in Kingston.
There you go, Finn. See, Finn is already more popular than me. He's not even here.
Needs to start writing books. And this one is from Layla Gibbons in Hardley School, and she asked, "Do you get bored of reading your own books because you know what will happen?"
Yeah, that's a good question. I never read my own books except when I'm doing a reading. I don't sit at home with my own books and go, "Oh, this is very funny. Ah, ha, ha, ha. Come here, children, and listen to the brilliance of your father. Ah, ha, 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 ha." So that would be a bit weird, wouldn't it? So I never read my own books. There's not enough time. I'm too busy reading other people's books. So no, the answer is I don't get bored because it never happens.
Excellent. And another question from the audience. What's your name?
Blessing.
Hello, what's your question?
How long does it take for you to write one book?
Well, that's a very good question. How long does it take to write a book? But it depends on what kind of book it is. For example, the Spud Murphy book, which is about the librarian, I wrote that in about 2 weeks because it's a short book. It has a lot of pictures, but also because I've been telling the story out on the road like this, like I was telling you stories. So by the time it came to write it down, I had done every little bit of work on it with an audience. So I just wrote it down and there was hardly any mistakes. And I didn't have to change anything. But then I wrote a book called Airman, and that's a very thick book. And it was it was a historical fiction book. So I had to research historical fiction. I had to research on the internet, and that took about a year and a half to write that book. But in general, the Artemis Fowl books take about 8 months. I know there's not very many jokes in that answer, but
So that's about as long as it takes me to read them. There we go. Another question for over this side of the room.
Yeah, my name's Aaron, and I was just wondering, how many more Artemis Fowl books will you write? Do you think you'll be writing?
Well, Aaron, I think one more after this, and it will be kind of the last big battle, and we'll finish up all the storylines. So I think this one is number 7, and the next one will be number 8 after number 7, and that will be it then. I'm going to finish it up.
Okay, a couple of questions from the web. We have one here from Beatrice Barrett, and she asks, what does Darvit mean anyway?
Oh yes, Darvit is, I wanted to put a kind of a swear word in, but I couldn't, so I had to invent one, and I was trying to think of a sound that sounds like it's a bit rude, and I thought, Darvit! was good. So it means whatever you want it to mean, but I didn't say that.
Excellent. So we have an excellent question here, which simply says, hello, 5 exclamation marks. We are from Chile, lots more exclamation marks. That means we had to wake up at 8 a.m. in the morning, even more exclamation marks, but it was worth it.
You think that's typical? They're definitely teenagers, because they think waking up at 8 o'clock in the morning is torture. For the rest of us, like, oh my God, it's 8 o'clock in the morning. I can't believe it. The sun is not even fully up yet. 8 o'clock in the morning is not so bad. But at the same time, thank you very much, everybody in Chile. Isn't that fantastic that we can all be sitting here talking, and someone in South America, that's where Chile is, can be looking at the backs of all your heads right now. So you could turn around and wave at them maybe at the camera.
Hello, Chile.
That was a terrible suggestion.
And relax. Now we're going to have another question from the audience over this side. Somebody. Hello, what's your name?
Chelia.
And what's your question?
What is the favourite book? What is your favourite book out of all you've written?
My favourite book out of all that I've written, I'll give a different answer this time. I think it's possibly my very first book, which was a book called Benny and Omar. And I remember very clearly when I got the word from the publishers, because I was holding my little baby. Now you have to watch this. I'm holding him like this. He's just been born. And I'm going, oh, and he said, I'm able to talk, Dad. Why are you speaking like that? And I said, no. And the phone rang. And I answered the phone, holding the baby. And I said, hello. And they said, hello, this is the publishers. We're going to publish your book. And I went, hey, oh! No, I didn't.
Not really.
But I remember I was actually holding the baby. So it was a baby had just been born. And I got the news about the book, so it was a very, very special moment. And I did not drop you, Finn. Absolutely not.
Another question from this side of the room. Who have we got? What's your name?
Finley.
Finley. What's your question, Finley?
When did you publish your first book?
My first book was published would be just over 12 years ago. So I was about 14 at the time. What? No, I think I was 32 when it was published. So 13 years ago, which is quite a long time. No jokes there, but the truth. The truth.
Okay, this is a question from the internet. I think we're in Hampshire. Dylan Knight, he wants to know, have you ever looked for the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow like Artemis?
Well, when I was a kid, I did kind of believe that legend that there was a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. But unfortunately, as we all know, you can never find the end of the rainbow because when you get close, it moves away. So I have looked for it like most Irish boys, but I have not found it yet. And if I had found it, I am not telling you.
I think the key word there is yet. Surely.
Yet, I'm still looking. Still looking.
Another question. This is from Megan, and she wants to know, if you weren't a writer, what would you be?
Well, if I wasn't a writer, I'd still be a teacher, I think. I really enjoyed teaching. Unfortunately, this is a horrible bit, my classroom was next to the boys' toilets in the school, and that was really bad. The noises that would come from that room were horrible. So, well, you see, the boys are laughing. They know exactly what I mean. So that was one of the main reasons I quit, just to get away from the bathroom.
Excellent. Another couple of questions. I think come on this side of the room. Where are we?
My name's Noah, and have you ever read the Moomin Troll series?
Have I ever read the Moomin Troll? I have, and what's more, that's from Finland, isn't it? I was up there, and they have a Moomin Troll museum. I think the Moomin Trolls are fantastic. Yeah, are you a fan?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're wonderful books. They're huge in Finland, massive. They've just been all reissued or something, haven't they? I think they've all been brought out again, and they're popular all over again, which is fantastic.
Lovely. Another question from this side of the room.
Why write the Artemis Fowl in third person?
Well, I think if I wrote it all in the first person, people would think I was Artemis Fowl, and I didn't want people to think that. I wanted them... If you write it in the third person, it's a little bit more mysterious. So I wanted you to try and imagine what he was like. But I have written books in the first person, but it's much harder because it's all inside the character's head and what he sees. But I wanted you to know what Holly was doing, and what Butler was doing, and what Artemis was doing. But if you write it all in the first person, you can only write what he's thinking, what he sees. So you can't write what Holly is doing over there. And Artemis Fowl is really the story of two people, Artemis and Holly. Okay?
Okay, yeah.
We have an excellent question here from Ishan Saraf, and Ishan wants to know, do you ever Google yourself?
Do I ever Google? I have not Googled myself. What is that? You go on the internet and you type your own name, and you see what...
no idea.
I don't even know what that is, Googling myself.
No, I have people to Google me for me.
Yes, I have a whole team of Googlers. They're around here somewhere. I make them wear hats in the shape of an egg. And I don't know why that is.
We have another question here from Eoin Colfer, who wants to know what's for dinner.
Thanks very much. I'm probably not even getting any dinner. He's in France. He's having a lovely dinner. He's probably having pizza. And I'll probably get, I don't know, some dry biscuits and a bottle of water.
Excellent. I think we've got time for a couple more questions. So we have one more from this side, please.
What kind of books do you like reading?
I like to read all kinds of books. And that's a very good question. Because sometimes boys especially, this is true, boys, admit it, you will never read a book that's written by a girl. They will not read a book that has any soppy words in it on the cover, like pony or something, or ballerina. And they will never, ever, ever read a book with the word love in the title. And they're really denying themselves some wonderful books. So I try and read every book. So I'm going to help out all the girls and all the wives here today, because there's some mothers and wives here. If your husband, you think he needs a bit of sensitizing, he could read a book with some emotions, and he won't read it. Say it's called The Death of a Pony. And he's not going to, or even worse, The Death of My Lovely Pony that I really loved. He's not going to read that. So what you do is you get your book, you get a yellow post-it, you stick it over the title, and you write a macho title. And it doesn't have to make any sense whatsoever as long as it has macho tough man words. So it could be like The Motorbike Explosion Chainsaw Lifeguard. And you say, here you are, darling. You go and read that. And you go, motorbike explosion, and you go up to bed, and you read that book, and half an hour later you go up and your husband will be crying like a baby. And he'll be saying, there's no lifeguard, and the pony died, and I love that pony. That's a new man right there. That'll make your marriage last 5 more years. No charge.
Lovely. Another question from over here.
What inspired you to choose the title Artemis Fowl?
I was trying to think of a name that would sound wise, but also a little bit nasty. Now, if you want a wise name, you've got to go with the ancient Greeks. Everyone knows how wise they were. So I was going to call it Archimedes, after the famous mathematician. But then someone said, is that about the real Archimedes? I said, okay, that's a mistake. So I called it Artemis, who was the goddess of hunting. And a boy could only be given that name if they had proven themselves in the group, like the Spartans or the Trojans, to be a fantastic hunter. So I thought, well, that's great, because he's hunting the fairies. And then Fowl is a name in Ireland. But what it sounds like is F-O-U-L, which means nasty. So the name actually means Artemis Fowl, the nasty hunter. So I think that's
Okay, I think we'll have just a couple more from the web, and then I think that we're nearly there. Can you manage a couple more?
I can do a couple more from the web.
Okay. This one is from Mrs. Gale. This is a teacher at Hartley School in Hampshire. And she wants to know, many of your characters have interesting names. Did you have a nickname at school? And if so, what was it?
I didn't. Well, I kind of did. There's an old story in Irish mythology. You see, I'm afraid to tell you this because there's people here who will be writing it down, and I'll be called it forever. But it was a story in the Irish language, which is called Onin Nanain, and that means little Owen of the birds. So it was a story about a boy who hung around with all these birds, and his name was Owen, and he was little. I'm not saying it was a good story, but everybody knew it, and so I was called Onin Nanain, which is little Owen of the birds. So let's keep that between ourselves, shall we? There's no need to go spreading that around.
Yeah. And one last question then. This is from Lee Gardner from Broome Park Community School in Gosport, and he wants to know, what is the hardest part of writing a book?
The hardest part of writing a book for me is being on your own, because you spend, if you can imagine this, 6 or 7 hours every day sitting in a office on your own. And what happens is you start to go a little bit mad. And how that happens with me is I start to do the characters' voices out loud. So I'm sitting at my typewriter or computer going, yes, you are going to die. Oh, no, don't kill me, you horrible monster. Oh, yes, I will kill you. Oh, no, no. And that's fine. That's fine when you're in the office on your own. But then sometimes you take your laptop and you go into the kitchen. And you're sitting there going, oh, yes, I'm going to kill you with this big sword. Oh, that's a horrible sword. I don't like that sword. And that's fine when it's your family. But then, because they know what you're doing. But then sometimes you go one step too far, as I did one time. I got a big cardboard box. Why? So I could take my computer outside in the sunshine and see it. So I put it in the box. And I was typing into the box. Now, I started doing the voices. Oh, you horrible, stinky thing, I will bury you underneath this mound of rubble, and then put an elephant. Not the elephant, not the elephant. And I knew what I was doing. My wife knew what I was doing. But to all the neighbours going past, it looked like the crazy white-haired man was shouting voices into a box. So in answer to your question, the hardest part is going insane in your own office on your own.
Absolutely. Lovely. Well, that's all we've got time for. Thank you so much, everybody who's tuned in over the internet. Thank you, everybody here at Forest Hill School. And if you just want to give one final round of applause to Eoin Colfer.
Bye, Finn. Bye, Jackie. Bye, Sean. Bye, Edward. Thank you, guys.